the Senate Finance Committee, I think it's the Finance Committee, is coming up with interesting new ways to spend your money. And now they're thinking about taxing IRAs that are supposed to be moving on to families, I guess, of deceased IRA holders in order to fund a transportation bill. I hope I got that right. John McKinnon.
That's right. There's not an obvious connection between highway funding and your individual retirement account, but the Finance Committee is trying to make a connection by taking some of the tax benefits away from people who hold IRAs.
Right, John. You know, I read your piece. I thought it was very interesting. You know, here you have the Finance Committee. They're basically looking for money. They're looking for money, basically, that they could take from somebody, and what better person to take it from than from people who will be dead, I guess that's one way of putting it, and who can't protest that much. But this is just like this is part of the pattern of, you know, when you look at something like this happening, you go, God, we have a whole problem with the way we finance our government. I mean, doesn't this point to the bigger problem with our tax system and how convoluted and messy it is?
It really points to that. It also points to the fact, as you mentioned, that, you know, the government finds all kinds of ways to spend money that it doesn't actually get. I mean, even this highway bill, which is reaching around all kinds of ways to raise money, doesn't actually raise enough money to pay for all the stuff that's in there. So it's still running a deficit. You know, these IRA accounts, though, as you say, are just one place they're looking. The Congress is looking at all kinds of dark corners of the U.S. economy, retirement accounts, the amount of money that people pay for their small businesses, and you know, it's just going to continue to increase.
Right. Now, I would advise people to read John's piece if you want to actually understand how it works, because as is typical with these things, it's extremely convoluted and hard to explain. So I don't want to go into the details, but just stepping back, John. This year, we have an election year. Obama just put forth a new budget. You would think that one of these days, Congress and the executive branch of our government would be getting around to tax reform and entitlement reform, which are the two big elephants in the room. But the fact that the Senate Finance Committee is even looking at this basically is more of the same. It's more of the status quo. It's more of vested interest. Please tell me that things are better than I think they are.
I wish I could. Things actually might be a little bit worse than you think they are. There's been all kinds of talk about tax reform the last few years, and there are lots of reasons for that. One is that the government's running these very, very large deficits. Another is that the U.S. corporate tax rate is set to become the highest in the world beginning in April. It's basically the second highest in the world right now. So there are lots of reasons for doing tax reform, various kinds, but there's really diminishing evidence, I'm afraid, that tax reform is actually going to happen anytime soon. Almost no one thinks it can happen this year, and I think that the continued confusion and backsliding and mixed messages that we're seeing on taxes, both from the administration and from Congress, frankly, point to diminishing odds that it's going to get done next year either.